Good evening. I'm Elizabeth George, Chief Membership Officer with the American Guild of Organists, and I'm delighted to welcome you to our webinar tonight about Hauptwerk. We do have you muted at the moment, but we want to hear from you. So please do post your questions in the Q&A icon that it's the bottom of your screen. And as well, this will be recorded and a link will be sent out 48 hours after this has been completed. So with us tonight, serving as moderator, is Brett Milan, founder and CEO of Milan Digital Audio, who has a double Master of Music in Organ and Piano Performance from the University of Illinois, and a Bachelor of Music in Piano Performance and Certificate in Organ Performance from the Florida State University. Our panelist, Lindsay Johnson, completed a master's degree in organ performance at Arizona State University and in the studio of Dr. Kimberly Marshall in 2023. She is a member of the Society of Women Organists, the Arizona Women's Collaborative, and she has also served 3 years on the AGO Young Organists Committee. Bernadette Hoke has been an active career and member of AGO as a pianist, an organist, conductor, and a collaborative musician in the New York City area. She holds an MM in piano performance, an associate certificate of the American Guild of Organists in AAGO, for those of us who know what that means, and is the music director and organist at St. Albans First Reformed Episcopal Church in New York City. Bernadette is also the conductor of a wonderful New York City ensemble called the New York City Encore Chorale, and she just happens to be married to Eric Burke, who is a fellow of the American Guild of Organists and serves as executive assistant for the AGO, and we are so glad that he does. He's a frequent substitute in the New York City area churches, and most recently served as organist and choir master at Christ and St. Stephen's Church in 2022-2023. He is part of the Burke and Hoke duo with his wife Bernadette. He is they perform concerts of music for organ duets, 4 hands, 4 feet, piano and organ duet, and piano 4 hands. And certainly last but not least, we have David McFarlane with us. And David has had an incredible career of serving as recitalist all over the States. But what's really exciting, I think, was that he had the opportunity to play twice in St. Peter's Basilica to an audience of several thousand. He completed his doctor degree at Rutgers University and holds a master's degree in choral conducting from the University of Hartford, Hart School of Music, and a bachelor's degree in organ performance from the University of Illinois. And he currently serves as organist and choir master at St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Delray Beach. And I will just add that I have had the pleasure of being able to sing with his choir on several occasions. So, Brett, I'm going to just say, please, the floor is yours. Let's get started.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth. My name is Brett Milan. I'm the founder and CEO of Milan Digital Audio, who are the developers of the Hauptwerk virtual pipe organ software. I'm pleased to announce that we've been working with the AGO to offer a 15% discount to AGO members for new Hauptwerk licenses. So you can follow up with Elizabeth if you're curious how you can get that discount. I believe once you sign up or join, it's on your account somehow, but more details from Elizabeth, I'm sure, be better than I could explain it. So just a quick blurb about myself, how I got started with Hauptwerk. For those who may not know, while I was studying organ, I was looking for something to make my practicing easier. All the practice rooms at the universities were taken all the time, and it just couldn't get it done. So I wound up recording the pipes, bringing them home with me, and formatting them for the software at the time, which was Hauptwerk version 1, about 22 years ago. So it's been a while. And the software has come a long way since then. A lot of new features and enhancements. A lot of organs exist now that we've sampled and other companies have sampled around the world for Hauptwerk. So, I think myself, like many others, use the software to practice as a necessity because they can't always get to a real organ. So that, is a great feature for Hauptwerk. So basically, I just wanted to say that, and I want to welcome our panelists, Lindsay, Bernadette, Eric, David, and again, Elizabeth, thank you. We're just going to sort of have a question and answer portion here. I've got a list of questions and no specific order. I think we could do, I'll ask the question, and if someone wants to jump in, or we could do ladies first, which is always probably the proper thing to do. And I think most people like to know, how did you get into Hauptwerk? Where did you learn about it? How did you get into using it? So I think that was something I'm actually curious to know from each of the panelists, just because it's always a fun little story to some degree. So let's start with you, Lindsay. How did you get into Hauptwerk?
Actually, degree is the right word. I came into an undergraduate program in Texas, and the organ instructor there had just acquired a Hauptwerk system.
Okay.
It was in one of our practice rooms, and we started using it in some lessons also, kind of to supplement some of the things we were doing. And I thought it was the coolest thing, and we had a really good time with it. It was in a really cool movable console, so we got to move it around campus and use it in different places and different settings. And it was really unique to see and hear kind of what it was capable of in that setting.
That's awesome. That's not something you can do with a real pipe organ, just easily move it around and part to campus to campus. So yeah, very, very cool story. Let's go. How about Bernadette and Eric? I see you guys are together. You have your console there. Did you discover Hauptwerk together? Or did one of you introduce it to the other? What's the story there?
Go ahead. Well, we have a friend here in New York who actually just finished 7 years at the Riverside Church as the director of music. And he was, until 2015, mostly doing substitute work like I do and doing freelance playing. And he had an organ in his basement. And we went to a Halloween party. He's big on Halloween and has one every year. And that was the first I had seen this, and I knew he had it, and this was about 2007 or 8, I think.
Okay.
That I first saw it, and it could have been later. But I when I started working at AGO, I quit a church job to do that, and I no longer had that location. I could practice at Bernadette's church, and then I'm a member of a church that has an organ that they got in 2007. But those are hard to get to because you have to make arrangements, you have to go somewhere. And I needed something to practice because I was working on the fellowship exam, and I needed unlimited time. And I needed something I could practice on silent so I didn't drive her crazy with all of the repetition stuff you do when you're practicing. So that's basically how we found out about it, and didn't look back.
Yeah, not to mention you're in New York City, so you get the cold weather. Sometimes you don't want to go out and have to drive to the church to practice. So it's a great benefit to stay at home in your warm living room and
Oh,
practice.
we like
So,
the cold, and basically
well.
now we don't have much heat. We don't. They have a new law in New York, and it's cutting back on our heat resources. So,
Oh no. So
anyway,
okay.
it works out.
Very interesting. And David, let's hear about your. How did you first learn about Hauptwerk, please?
I actually don't remember how I heard about it. I'm a kind of techie person. I'm an early adopter of a lot of different things. And in the mid 2000s, maybe I read about it in TAO or someplace, but I'd heard about it. I already had, as you can see behind me, a digital organ that I practiced on and was never really satisfied with the sound capabilities of it. So I got on board with Hauptwerk 4 when that version was out, and just loved the fact that I could practice at home, have the different sample sets that were available at the time to play different music stylistically appropriate organs. And I've just built a collection that I've had since then. I've upgraded the equipment. I've bought more sample sets. But for me, it's the convenience of being able to practice at home any hour of night and day, and to just revel in the sound of all those wonderful organs.
Sure, right, understood. Okay, I think there probably are a lot of people watching this that maybe aren't too familiar with Hauptwerk or not sure how to get into it. And this can be anyone that wants to jump in and answer. As a new person coming into Hauptwerk, what advice might you have for someone that maybe you wish you had when you started Hauptwerk that could make things better or facilitate their experience? So yeah, just some advice for a newbie, I guess, is what I'm wanting to know. Anybody?
I would say that when you purchase Hauptwerk, it comes with one sample set, St. Anne's.
St. Anne's, yeah.
Spend a lot of time with that, getting to know the capabilities, because it's a nice, moderate, small instrument. And by using that, you can really start to learn the capabilities of the software before you start going to larger sample sets with so many more options. Just start small and add on from there. You know, just take a nice slow learning curve with what they give you from the start.
Yeah, the St. Anne's is a small 30-stop English romantic organ from Birmingham, England, which originally it came with Hauptwerk 1 in mono, and then I went back when I recorded Salisbury samples and redid the St. Anne's organ that now is with Hauptwerk in stereo and better quality. So kept it the same, graphics were the same, but yeah, it's a great starter organ. It's got all the bells and whistles, crescendo pedals, divisionals, generals. So yeah, okay. Yeah, like you said, lots of instruments. So it's good to know you can get started with one and build up your collection if you like to have different style periods of organs, Baroque, French Romantic, contemporary. So, okay. I think one of the most important things about organ playing, and that a lot of organists, I don't want to say have difficulty with, but it's almost an unanswerable question, is registration. A lot of compositions, especially Bach, don't always specify the registration, and you have to sort of know what he intended or what the sound of the organ is capable of doing. So I would like to ask, let's go back to Lindsay. As far as registration, how did Hauptwerk help you learn to register a piece, for genre-specific repertoire? Is that something that you were able to learn from?
Absolutely. So the instrument that we had in Texas had 13 organs on it, kind of spanning different styles of instrument. We had French Romantic, we had Spanish, we had Italian, Central German Baroque. I'm trying to remember all of them. But lots of different kinds of organs. And it was ideal for an academic setting, I think, because I was learning repertoire from totally different eras. And there's not one perfect instrument that can demonstrate each of those characteristics. And so getting to kind of put the piece with the place in a way where I could practice and hear the sounds that I would ideally be hearing if I had the opportunity to play rep in its original locations was a really unique option. And on top of that, being able to practice taking it maybe off of something that it was standardized for or presented for, and then practicing it on a different instrument was really unique. Hearing different temperaments was really interesting. And sort of
temperaments, temperaments and tuning. Actually, that's further down my list of questions. So yeah, that's part of the
great.
historical aspect. Yeah. Go ahead.
It just played such a big factor in like my own understanding of like the breadth of what these instruments were capable of, because as an incoming undergrad, I really didn't have a clue. And I was able to travel the world without really having to leave home. So that was kind of a neat feature.
Yeah, it's much cheaper than buying plane tickets and flying everywhere and making arrangements. And that's something when I was doing organ literature at grad school, we had a little practice organ there and the main concert organ in the hall, but we'd have to listen to CDs of, say, a Schnicker from North Germany to understand what the principal sounds like compared to another organ with the same name, stop. And it's fun listening, but it's a totally different experience when you can sit there and play every note and play a piece of music and change the registrations at will. So yeah, really, really cool. Relating to registration, let's go back to Eric and Bernadette. As far as registering and Hauptwerk and then having to go play on a real pipe organ for a concert or service, how can you relate, or how do you relate registering a piece to practice to make it as similar as you can to a different organ? Because obviously the stop lists won't be the same.
Well, we've recently played two organs where two of our sample sets were really very helpful. I've worked a lot at the Brook Presbyterian Church here in New York City, which has a casa band that was put in 2007. I've done accompanying there. I've helped out since 2012, and I was there for 2 months as the interim before the current organist. And it's all in French, and so is, of course, the Notre Dame de Metz Pavaille École. And so I found it very helpful to learn not only those stop names to reinforce what I'd learned before, but on that Kabbalah call, you have to know the ventals and you
Right,
have to
yep.
put them on before anything will play except for what's on the positive. So that experience really, heightened my awareness of all the registration things that go on because, with Franck and Vierne, if they've got on the fond, that's a certain set of stops. And if you have reeds, you also have mixtures because they were on the same
Right.
box.
The upper work. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so that's all a different way of looking at registration when you know what's there. And Bernadette can talk about a place she was playing for a Welsh congregation. You were making recordings, remember?
No, I wasn't getting. Oh,
Yes.
right. Yes.
So the organ that we also practice on is the Hereford Cathedral Willis organ. And
Right.
there's an organ here on the Upper West Side that's very similar in scale and sound choices that you have available to your pieces. And so she was doing their service that happened once a month because it's a church that's more a cultural group of people than it is a weekly service. And so she would need to go in and just on a moment's notice be ready to rehearse and play the service without much practice time ahead, and so she could work everything out here at home.
Right.
So you think you chose the organs for Hauptwerk that were more specific, closely related to what you were going to be playing on in real life?
Not necessarily. In fact,
Okay.
Our reasoning was we have three. We have a German, we have a French, and we have an English. So that pretty much covered most of the repertoire we've specialized in for
Okay.
ourselves and together. So it just sort of fit the bill of different places. And you can rearrange the keyboards. So
I was just gonna say that, yeah.
So if you're at a place where it's in French disposition, you can put the Hereford in French disposition. It's not
Yeah,
where
it's
supposed
called
to be.
floating divisions is the term in Hauptwerk. You can change, make a keyboard. Let's say you only have 2 keyboards and the organ has 4. Well, you can hit a piston and assign that and flip that keyboard to make the great the swell, or the swell the choir, or however you want to arrange it. So yeah, very, very cool. Okay. Yeah, and talking about having multiple organs, there's 200 to 300 organs. There's so many organs available for Hauptwerk now. There's so many different genres. And I don't know that anyone has all of them, but there's definitely, room for you if you want to get something else, specific to a style period that, they're out there. A lot of variety. Okay. Next question. Let's see here. David, let's ask you. So Hauptwerk, throughout the years, it's gotten lots more enhancements, lots of features, lots of options. And I'm curious to know, are there things that you actually learned since you've used Hauptwerk that you didn't know before? Things that just like, I see how this works now because I have access to all these tools in the software.
Well, going back to what Eric said, certainly the vental system on French Romantic organs it made that so much easier, and it suddenly made logical sense. You can just imagine sitting at a clavier console and moving your foot across the ventals and just adding divisions and making a smooth crescendo. But for me, the biggest learning thing was kind of the aha of hearing the sound, getting back to registration, like Franck, Vierne, they're very hyper specific about the stops and the sounds that they want, or especially French Baroque, French classical. There's exact sounds that they want in those registrations, and actually being able to find them and hear them, and then the music makes sense. And the balances make sense when you hear it on an instrument that it's designed for. So that was really the aha for me.
Cool. Yeah. And, the organ music and the organ builders they were almost developed together, at the time. So they're really, very specific in the sound that the composer wanted. So that's, yeah. But definitely the ventals, for those watching maybe aren't familiar, they're just a way to block off wind to certain divisions. Multiple stops can be controlled by one stop that blocks the wind. So, okay. Here, this is sort of a fun question here. We can go through everyone real quick, just a quick couple sentences. What's your most memorable experience that you've had with Hauptwerk? Performing live or just by yourself? So, something that sticks out to you in your time of playing.
I can go first.
Okay.
It was it was the year of COVID, and obviously everybody was kind of in lockdown. But after we were able to go back to school, I think that was the spring of 2021, My sister had a senior recital she needed to perform, and still churches weren't really comfortable with allowing a large amount of people in for non-church service events. We were having a hard time finding a place for her. And so what we did was we actually set up our Hauptwerk console outdoors and hosted an outdoor recital, socially distanced with masks. And I guess it must have been in the fall because we served hot chocolate. It was getting cold. And it was just a really memorable moment, not just for us, but for like the campus, because it was the first concert we'd hosted since COVID. And we were all able to just like convene outside and enjoy organ music in a space you would never experience organ music outdoors like that. So
That's
it was
a
really
great
cool.
story. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. How about Eric? You guys have any memorable experiences?
Well, I have to say it was really fun. No, COVID wasn't fun, but being able to record preludes and postludes and other repertoire with the organ, and then they were used for the services that were on Vimeo, and then also just to record and send to friends and family has been really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I made up a happy birthday treatment to what's that girl prelude? Christians be joyful. Noonfoot Oich. And I did a rhythmically altered version of Happy Birthday in the pedal. And so I've recorded that and I sent it to people on their birthday.
Very cool.
Will you
Okay.
send me one, please, Eric, on my birthday?
You
Send
might
us
have to
all
give
one.
away your age, Elizabeth.
We all want one.
Joking. We don't have that right now, but I can send it to you when the time is right.
Okay, cool. Well, I think I'll be in San Francisco, but you'll be there too, so.
Okay.
So I've got some more
Actually-
questions unless you want to, I'm not sure how we're doing on time, Elizabeth, but.
Well, we do
just
have
let me
about
know.
11 questions here from people that I know are anxious to, if you, why don't we start with answering some of those? Or let
Okay.
me just bring those up because I think they're important.
Sure.
Okay, the first one is, are there sellers in the US who provide assembled, customized systems of organ components like keyboards, pedals, pistons, etc., that work with Hauptwerk?
There are some that if they contact us, I can send them some references. We've got dealers and resellers listed on our website as well. And actually that's something that in the future, we're going to be looking at offering as well. So the answer is yes. I have to look at the list and I can send and see, what exact requirements they might be needing, but yeah, certainly possible.
A couple of questions about costs. I'm interested in the average total cost for the setup from keyboard, pedals to software, et cetera. And then a following question is there a long-term cost of ownership one should be aware of?
So I think to answer this, I'll give some basic information, and then I think maybe the panelists can offer their insight on cost, because it really could be anything you want it to be. You could start with a single Casio MIDI keyboard for say $40 and connect it to a computer and install the software and run. Or you could spend, the sky's the limit on a larger console with a surround system, audio system. Put it in your house. I've known people that have actually built their house around the Hauptwerk organ. So there's really, the cost is something, it's what you want it to be. It's a very flexible system. And there are vendors out there that sell separate pieces if you wanted to build it over time and construct it. Now I know each of our panelists have a different style console, so they have their own experience with that. Like David.
Yeah, obviously one of the biggest costs is the keyboards and the console. If in my case, I had a pre-existing digital organ that was fully modified. So having already paid that expense early on to add Hauptwerk was not that much more. It was just, buying the software package and a couple of connectors, and then depending on what kind of audio system you want, if you want to just use headphones or if you want to do a speaker array, it can be very economical. At one point, I actually had set up a little portative for a concert I was doing. There was just a Casio keyboard, my laptop, and Hauptwerk, and a little two flute stops. So it can be very inexpensive, or the sky's the limit if you want.
Yeah, and the
38
great
speaker
thing
surround.
about right, thank you. The great thing about most of the digital organ consoles out there, unless they're pre 1980s, they have MIDI, and MIDI out is what Hauptwerk needs. It's a very simple digital connection to an interface on your computer. So, if some of the people watching have a digital organ console, look on the back panel or look in your manual. If it's got MIDI out, then it's very easy to connect. Okay.
Okay, another question. When using Hauptwerk with music notation software such as Finale, Sibelius, etc., via VST Link, is there a way to program a registration change on a notation project in, for example, Finale?
Yeah, there definitely is. Yes. Everything in Hauptwerk can be controlled via MIDI. Registration changes, individual stops, pistons, crescendos, swell pedals. You can assign any kind of message you want. Typically program change messages. We're getting technical in the MIDI domain here. Program change messages for registration changes, or you could do MIDI note on offs. So yes, you can record your playing, your actual real live playing to notes, and then you can capture your registration changes as well. And when you play it back, those will be triggered and play the exact registration. Hauptwerk also has its own built-in MIDI recorder as well as an audio recorder, which captures everything, all the registration changes, every keystroke, every swell pedal. And that's something you could record in Hauptwerk, play it right back, or send it to another user that has the same organ and they can play your exact performance. Or you could take that MIDI file that you've created and load it into Finale or Sibelius and see all your MIDI data there and tweak it and do whatever you want. So.
Great. Thank you so much for answering that question. Another one, I understand that Hauptwerk allows choosing and programming different temperaments, and I think we touched on that. I have a microtonal keyboard controller, the Lumitone, and I'm wondering, okay, where did you just go? And I'm wondering if oh my gosh, we've got so many questions pouring in that I just suddenly lost this. Okay. And I'm wondering if Hauptwerk has microtonal capacity. I believe that I've seen a Hauptwerk sample set available about the 31 tone Fokker organ now in Amsterdam.
Generally, Hauptwerk is not microtonal like that. I mean, typical pipe organs are going to be one note per key. That's obviously something newer. I'm not exactly familiar with the organ that they're talking about, if they've done something new or tweaked, the settings in Hauptwerk. There's some ways to cheat certain things here and there in the software as a developer to do it, something maybe it wasn't intended for, but generally, no, it's not really a microtonal, software platform for doing that or bending notes or that kind of, there's no pitch modulation wheels or, or even like piano with different dynamics. We actually created a theater organ and made a piano work with some dynamic or not sustain actually for the theater organ, which wasn't meant to do that way in the software. So, maybe these developers did something that I'm not aware of, but in general, it's not something that it's designed for.
Thank you. Another question. I'm using an old Rogers C505 console. Works great, except that the couplers can't be programmed via Hauptwerk. Is that generally true of Rogers hardware?
Depending on the Rogers hardware, it's been a while. I don't know what era their organ is from. I know that it used to be the case, and I believe still is with Rogers. They use a there's a system. It's a certain group of MIDI messages, and you have to use either the onboard combination system of the Rogers or the Hauptwerk combination system, and it doesn't work with both communicating back and forth. I would ask this person if they are wanting more information on that to contact us, hauptwerk.com, and our tech support team can answer those questions more exactly. It's been a while since I've dealt with some of the internal, MIDI workings of everything, but.
There are a lot of tech questions. For example,
That's
if you don't have a MIDI capable organ, what's the best way to obtain a system that works with Hauptwerk?
Well, it depends what you want to do. If you just want to program and hear organ sounds, you can do it all on your computer through, like the previous person asked, through notation such as Finale or Sibelius or any digital audio workstation program like Logic, anything that has a MIDI editor piano roll in it. And then you can use that to play back the organ sound. So it doesn't always have to be played live through a digital MIDI keyboard. It can be done directly all on your computer as well.
Okay, this one's interesting, at least I'd like to know. I'm particularly interested in getting started with hardware to run the software. Are there vendors who build systems ready to run at reasonable cost, or is it mostly self-built systems, which seems a bit daunting?
Right. Well, back to our first question. Yeah, there's definitely vendors out there that make complete turnkey systems in the US and Europe and Canada. So if that's something that they're looking for, the answer is yes. They can contact us if they want more information and we can send them to the right place to look.
Great. Someone spoke of having a portable setup. Are there suggestions of places to find a portable setup? I'd really like to find something to bring to public schools for demonstrations. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, I can quickly mention one, and then if any of the panelists want to chime in, I know Canada Classic MIDI Works offer it's pretty portable. I've done trade shows with them before where the whole console packs down and you can transport it and set it up, you know, in a relatively short time. So that's possible. I know that Eric and Bernadette have a console from them. So, you know, they actually, Eric, it'd be interesting. We were discussing this before we went live, how you're in your apartment. I'm not sure what floor you're on, but you said that was your choice, that you had to go this way to get into your apartment.
May I make a comment about portable? I was called on to do a funeral in a funeral home one time. I took basically a simple Casio keyboard. I had an organ loaded on my laptop, and I assigned the pedals to the bottom octave of the Casio and the organ to the rest of it, could change the stops on my laptop and just play hymns for the funeral. So it can be very inexpensive and very, very portable and very basic if that's all that you need.
Right.
Thank you. Does Milan Digital offer instructional help in setting master generals? I have a Friesach that needs to be set master to master generals. Contact number for Milan Digital help. Well, you probably see that on their website. And I know someone else also asked if on your website there were tutorial videos at all, or on YouTube.
Well, the user guide for Hauptwerk, which is on our website, pretty much covers everything that you can possibly do in the software, master generals for sure. If they're having some specific difficulty, I would just ask them to contact us. Go to hauptwerk.com and click on the support. I think it says support on the navigation there, and drop down, and and then we can help you further. So definitely that's something we can help with. We don't have a tutorial video for every option in Hauptwerk. It's just too many. But typically the user guide's very well illustrated with graphics and text and illustrations to show how things are done.
Someone asked, is there an ongoing cost for the software or a one-time purchase?
Good question. We've got perpetual licenses currently, which is once you buy that license, then you have it. You don't have to renew that. That's for a specific version number. Currently we're on version 8. So if you purchase a license today or tomorrow, you would get version 8, and that's going to last you until, you know, you're ready to upgrade to version 9, at which point we have lower upgrade pricing. Or if your computer dies and you can't run it anymore, install it, then you might need to upgrade. And we're looking at getting subscriptions back as well. We used to have subscriptions, and now they've been gone for a little while. We're getting subscriptions back, which is a month-to-month payment option, and that lasts as long as you want to keep your subscription up, typical like any other subscription you might subscribe to. So but right now we have perpetual. We've got a light edition, which is less expensive, more limited options, and we have the advanced edition, which is the full-blown version that has every option that Hauptwerk offers.
Okay. And a good question from my dear friend Stuart Holmes. I'm starting from scratch. Should I purchase a used digital first? Hard to find, I think. Or go ahead and purchase a package with console from a dealer?
I mean, I think that's a matter of what he's more comfortable with and what his budget is. Again, as long as it has MIDI out, sonically, you're going to get the same results. Depending on the organ console itself, you know, if it has stops or rocker tabs or what kind of registration system does it have, you might want to weigh those options versus, you know, one organ versus the other to actually do, you know, registration changes for live playing. A lot of people use touch screens as well. Instead of having pistons everywhere, they can touch stops on the touch screen. But there's plenty of options out there that use standard consoles with pistons and stop knobs. So I think it's just a matter of their personal budget and what they're looking at getting done.
And this is kind of a nice, oh, hi, Deborah. It's nice to hear from you. Not a question, but I just wanted to say how much my young students, PK through adult, love playing Bach on the Armstadt Surround. It is a great teaching tool for beginning students as well as advanced players, added to my Allen Digital instrument. Nord works fine for traveling.
It's great to hear. Thank you for the nice feedback, and we're glad you're enjoying using Hauptwerk.
That's great. Lots of people saying how much they're enjoying using it. How old is version 8? Meaning how recently was 8 available? When would 9 come out? Did we talk about that at the beginning? I'm sorry.
No, we didn't touch on dates. Hauptwerk version 8 was released last August, September, somewhere around that time period. We are currently working on version 9. Don't have a release date yet, but as soon as that's ready, we'll definitely let everyone know. And there's going to be a lot of new fun stuff in that, a lot more user-friendly options, navigating around the options. So, we look forward to releasing that for everybody.
Okay. I'm just going to do a couple more questions because I would like you all to comment a little bit. Do you plan to upgrade some of the older sample sets like Mount Carmel Skinner to match the newer ones?
I would say watch this year and see.
Okay. And do you have a suggestion for controlling stops from an iPad?
The only option I could think of right now is using screen duplication software, where screen mirroring software. There's lots of programs you can use for that. Basically, you would install the app on your main Hauptwerk computer and then install the slave app on your iPad, and it mirrors what your screen is on your computer. Then you can change stops, and it will, over Wi-Fi, basically, or Bluetooth, however the program works, will connect to Hauptwerk and change the stops. And you could use that for any program other than Hauptwerk as well. If you open up Microsoft Word and you connected it, you could do Word on your iPad the same as you would on your computer. So that's how it could be done. Currently, there's no iPad. There's not an app, with Hauptwerk. It's far too big of a program, and it requires, more oomph than the iPads currently offer to run the instruments.
Are there plans to add multi-touch functionality?
For multi-touch, is that all they wrote? I assume they're talking about the touch screens. Currently, there's multi-select in the menu options, where you can select more options than one at once and apply lots of settings to them. Multi-touch, it's been a while since I've used a touch screen. I believe currently you can touch the screen and swipe your finger without lifting it and activate a whole row of stops. But tapping 2 or 3 different places is not currently an option. It is on our enhancements list, but that would be that, having like 2 or 3 mouse clicks at once on your computer. So something we'll definitely be adding in the future for sure.
Wow. Well, I think what I'm going to suggest is I will have people submit questions to me, because we do have a lot more tech questions, and I can forward them to you, Brett, and you'll be able to answer them.
That would be lovely.
Great. We are at about 7:41, and I'm delighted to see that we have so many people that are just so curious about Hauptwerk, and some who use it and some who just want to learn more about where they can experience it. Timothy raised his hand. Let's see, Timothy, 1 second. I'm trying to find you. I don't see you here. I'm so sorry. Can you post your question in the Q&A? Let's see if you can do that. Okay. All right. At the moment, I'm not seeing you. So we do want to let people know that at our convention, we are going to be having a room specifically assigned for a demonstration of Hauptwerk software in San Francisco, which I think is very exciting. And so we hope that everyone will want to come and experience it and hear more about it. And as well, Lindsay, isn't your teacher doing a workshop?
Yes, he is. His focus is on how Hauptwerk can be used as an academic tool for students and for universities, and a really, really neat presentation. So
That should be
Excellent.
great.
Well, that's exciting. Rod, I want to thank you so very much. You know, when I first contacted Brett, I said, would you be interested in offering our members or first-time users a 10% discount? And he said, well, how about a 15%? And so that's such a great benefit, and we are so appreciative of that. And for those of you who may not know where to find all of this information, you need to log into OnCard, and you will see a tab that now has been created that says Member Benefits, that will give all the information about the wonderful options of and the discount and how to access it to use Hauptwerk. Any final comments that anybody wants to share?
I'd just like to say thank you for this opportunity, and I'm glad to be able to help with new AGO members and a discount. And thank you also for the opportunity for this webinar. And thanks to the panel, Lindsay, Bernadette, Eric, David. It's been pretty fun. So I would like to do this again at some point. I can have some different topics. But yeah, thanks to everyone.
I think we could definitely go on and on, but thank you so very much. The presentation is called Hauptwerk as a Pedagogical Tool, presented by Devin Howard. So that's what's going to be at our convention in San Francisco. And I would be remiss if I, since you can see the sign above me, we're encouraging you, please do join us there. We'd love to see you. It's June 30th through July 4th. And we've got some very unusual and different things planned for this convention that I think will excite everyone. Again, David, Lindsay, Eric, Bernadette, and Brett, thank you so very much. This was wonderful. And yeah, it sounds like we might have to do a follow-up webinar. But for now, as I said, if anyone else has questions, send them to me and I'll be happy to forward them to Brett. So with that, I'm going to say, everybody take care, be well, and we will see you soon.
Look forward to seeing you. Thank you, everyone.